Let's talk about something nobody wants to talk about, bioethics. Please prove me wrong that no one wants to hear it. You can take human stem cells and create chimeras with animals. There's even been reports that some neural chimeras, that means mice that have human brain tissue that was inserted during their fetal stage, ends up more intelligent. You actually can replace a pretty significant portion of a mouse's brain with human stem cells, and that is very important. We finally have the ability to study human conditions, how human cells communicate without working with an actual human, which should be more ethical. Except here's where the big problems come in. I included really like the spooky aspects of science, but somehow I've ended up being a science communicator and I have extra responsibilities. When we personify things like chimeras, we want to give them extra rights for being partly human. When we personify the tiny human brains that you can grow in a literal jar and have run computation, it does end up freaking people out. Now, Cortical Labs, one of the two companies where you can use brain organoids at a distance to do your computation, they were the ones who claimed sentience in a dish. They were highly criticized in the scientific community for making such extraordinary claims. Why? Because sentience is a very difficult thing to actually demonstrate the capacity to have an experience. Saying so without a unified way to define the term does end up making brain organoid research a little bit more difficult to do. This can end up being very valuable research. It's extraordinarily valuable for the same reason chimeras are valuable, because you can do actual research on human tissues without the person. This is actually the same reason why Colossal Biosciences lost my respect, because they didn't actually make dire wolves. They made wolves with dog genes to be really big. But making big claims gets funding. That's part of the problem. When we personify science, we're committing the Mereological fallacy. The idea that the parts are the same as the whole, which they're not. While the really spooky and exciting claims are exciting, I hope we get conscious robots one day, they can end up hindering the field as a whole. You think you know something about people who don't entirely understand what you're working with and want to stop you because somebody presented it as scary? Yes, that's a pretty big problem in science. Let's look at some research highlights. Researchers have been able to model Alzheimer's disease in mice using human neurons, embryonic stem cells. This means that we may get closer to a treatment because medications can be tested on human cells, just not humans, and having them in a living model shows us how they actually behave, not just cells on a plate. Albeit they are behaving with mouse cells, so they may not be 100% the same. But we are able to give mice conditions that otherwise humans would get. Also, I just really want to tell people this, but there's no evidence that human head transplantation is going to be a thing. There are papers examining the ethics of it, despite that it doesn't appear to be a thing or ever going to be a thing. I've looked at a lot of papers on how people want to try to carry it out. I'm so sorry, it's just not happening. I never wanted to be people's sole source of human brain organoid or biological horror information, but somehow I've become that, and now I feel I have a greater responsibility to tell the truth. Although I love the spooky sides of things, I just gotta be honest with y'all. I care. I actually do care, and if people shut down the research, how will we ever get conscious robots?